Hello friends, we have with us today Mr. Kanaujia, the retired IPS officer of West Bengal cadre of 1982 batch, been former Director General of Police and currently is the Information Commissioner in West Bengal. Sir, good evening and welcome.
Thank you, Rohit. Thanks a lot.
So my first question to you would be why and how, what made you choose civil services?
Well, that was a long time back when I took this attempt of civil services. This was in the year 1981. And I was then studying in the University of Delhi, St. Stephen's College, and then I joined Delhi School of Economics. So in those days, like perhaps it is now also, and then more, writing the UPSC examination or being part of the civil services was considered to be very, very prestigious. And every student, most of them used to, work hard, and their ambition was to get into the civil services. So I was one of them, and I got a launch pad because I was already in Delhi University, and that was a place which was known for preparing students for joining these civil services. And I think the other factor was that the options which are available now in terms of the job market, which has become become very varied, and so many fields are now available for young people to make a move into. Then it was more restricted. So this was the best option available then.
So, sir, like we do know that civil services requires a lot of strong education background, and people need to be prepared and be studious, be hardworking. And you yourself are from Delhi School of done from St. Stephen's and done it from the Delhi School of Economics. And now currently we are seeing a lot of students who are coming into civil services. They are from villages in different parts of India. So why this dichotomy, and how come this is happening also?
I guess things started changing somewhere in the late 70s. I would say 1979, when the rules of the game changed. The UPSC pattern was changed that year, and the examinations became number one. There was no separate examinations for, say, the IAS or the Foreign Service or the IPS, which were different examinations earlier. So it became one common examination, number one. And number two, it was no longer confined only to writing the papers in English language. So in 79, they changed the pattern of the examinations and made it open to the regional languages also. So I guess that is, and when I took the exam in 1981 and joined the services in 1982, the trend had actually started changing. I myself had a few batchmates of mine who had come from absolutely, a rural belt, and they qualified, and they did very well in their careers. So I don't think that being from some very well-known college or a very strong, education can be very strong even in small government schools. I am a firm believer of that. So it is not this exam was more, I think, elitist at once upon a time. It was only the English knowing people from metropolitan areas used to mainly qualify for the examinations. But thankfully the system changed from 79 onwards, and so now you see a whole range of people coming to the examinations, and from not just the big cities but also the rural areas, the suburban areas, small towns, who perhaps don't have this strong English language backup. So they are also coming in, which is a good trend, because it is opening the scope of the civil services is very wide and very broad, and where you can really affect the lives of millions of people. So it cannot be just confined to a few practitioners, that is, a few officers who come from elitist background. So I think very rightfully it should be opened up and which it has now opened up to a lot of people coming from smaller areas.
So my next question to you would be: civil services requires a lot of hard work. I mean, a lot of the lakhs of people who sit for it every year, but only a handful make it through. So, does it does hard work only work, or do you require a little bit of luck also to be in the services?
Well, that's an interesting question. I think, there's a saying that, luck favors the brave. So hard work and luck, I guess, goes hand in hand. If you don't work hard, if you don't slog it out, perhaps the luck will also elude you. So if you are really focused, if you are preparing hard for the examination, at some point the luck will play its part. Uh, of course, there's no substitute, I think, for really working hard in a systematic way. That's how all these new coaching centers are coming up. Which is just to give you the right direction. Hard work is, of course, is something which the student or the person appearing for the examination has to put in. But of course, there are a lot of ways of getting the direction. Coaching centers are one, colleges are one, your peer group is another. So I think luck is actually not the prime factor. The prime factor is the hard work, and luck will somehow find its way in if you are working hard.
There's different services under civil services. Is your IAS, IFS, IPS, then you have railways. So people who come into these services require different sort of aptitude and an attitude for this particular area, line of work. Do you think we should have separate examinations for IAS, for IPS, rather than one common examination, so that we can have the right people in the right position? Or a lot of these people who want to be IPS, they clear IAS. A lot of people who get into IPS take one more exam to try and be an IAS. So should we have these different examinations?
Well, I think I don't really agree with you there, because uh, there's a difference between number one, uh, a technocrat or a civil servant, bureaucrat, you can say. A police officer, IPS officer is also a bureaucrat in that from that point of view. These clearing these examinations, UPSC, and what the government is looking for at is to find and prepare leaders. So when it comes to leadership roles, you cannot really have a distinction between an IAS officer and an IPS officer, or a foreign service officer, or railways, or customs, central excise. So there's all these services, because at the level you are making an entry in these premier services through the UPSC examination is to provide the senior level leadership, and it's not you are not joining the services to become a manager, but a leader, a senior leader. So there, it's the individual trait of the person which is honed in the training academies, and that is the place where service-oriented things are taught to the candidates. But the basic quality, when you write the examination or when the interview takes place, is to see at the person's candidates leadership qualities, because at the end of the day, that is what really counts when handling a crisis, when handling major policy matters, major law and order situations, whether it is as far as police is concerned, major terrorism, subversive activities, etc. It is the quality of the leaders and how they give direction to the people who are working under them. We at the other level, which is maybe slightly subordinate level, you already have different levels of entry, where people specifically sit for the police examinations, or uh, civil service, state civil service examinations are there. You have paramilitary forces where people join for doing very, very specific and specialized work. But at the level of the UPSC, the primary consideration is to look for top leaders.
So my follow-up question to that is also that there are a lot of these institutes now. We've opened up. A lot of institutes are opening up, and where we do you think structured teaching is relevant and required in civil services, considering the syllabus that it has?
I guess so, because I'll give an example of, say, when I took the examination in 1981. It was still highly competitive, the examination, and that year, if I remember quite, correctly, almost 10 lakh people appeared for the examination, and the all India vacancies in all the services was around 780 or something, and which included everything, the foreign service, the IPS, IAS, and all the other civil services. So that was the extent of competition, and so you can imagine what is happening now. So that 10 lakhs must be, almost 50 lakhs or 80 lakhs people appearing every year. Uh, and with the new kind of subjects which have been introduced, new topics that have been introduced, uh, the environment has become highly competitive now. So you have students coming, like we were discussing earlier, the spectrum of the students, the wide variety of people coming into the examination to take the examination, has become so broad that that cutting edge competition is very, very tough now. So there were many people like me who could get away in 1981 with very minimum, structured coaching. We depended more on our own college or university libraries, help from some teachers and peer groups. But I don't think, it will be very sensible to not take help of structured institutes which provide very focused training on how to prepare yourself for the examination, how each paper has to be approached, and how to frame questions, answers. So I think that's very important, and it really can take away a lot of burden away from the minds of the candidates, students who will take this examination. So then, their main focus will be on how hard they can work for this thing, but and leave the rest to these structured coaching centers. So I think it's a good idea to take help of the training institutes.
So my next question would be, uh, previously in the past we've seen a lot of IAS and IPS bureaucrats, IPS officers coming out of Bengal in big numbers. But that trend changed over a couple of years. So, what do you think we have missed, and how do we bridge that gap now going forward?
Well, I think one of the reasons I can think of, and this trend basically started sometime in the 70s, when there were fewer successful candidates from the state of West Bengal. And that was a time when the Naxal movement had started in West Bengal, and there was a lot of disruption in regular functioning of the universities and colleges, especially based out of the city of Kolkata. And as everyone knows that the city colleges, Calcutta colleges, universities were, and even now to a great extent, are highly rated and one of the top institutions in the country. But because of various political and very extreme political environment in the late 70s, mid 70s, it somehow, upset the apple cart, which was a large number of successful candidates getting into the examination. Uh, and then I think then it could never be reined in. That initial loss of a few years, people lost focus and got too involved in activities other than academics, etc. But I think this is the right time now. When things are very stable in the state also, focus is on education, and a lot of very decent educational institutions have come up outside the city in the district towns and North Bengal, etc. And this is a time for, I think, a lot of students to think about joining the civil services and think beyond even the state civil service examination, and think in terms of all India examinations like UPSC, because it really it gives you the empowerment, the power to do so much for the whole broad Indian society, which is something you can't even conceive, can't even imagine now. So I think one should start thinking big, and if you have access to structured training institutes, please take help, but do focus on working hard and making attempts to join these services.
What message would you have for students who wish to join IAS Shaashtra and other structured such institutes, and who probably are not being able to bring up bring out their desire or their drive to join such an elite force?
Well, first I should say that I'm very happy that institute like IAS Shastra has just been opened. Uh, like I said sometime back, that when the facilities are there, when you can have access to structured training institutes like IAS Shastra and others, uh, it should be taken advantage of, uh, uh, because this is a great opportunity to. A lot of people have hesitation. They somehow can't think or look beyond what is there in front of them. So to with access to these kind of institutes, it will make you think beyond these. What is immediately ahead of you. That is in the larger context, all India context, all India examinations. You can be part of such a elite and powerful group of officers who are present all over the country. So that should be the motivating force, and work hard. That's the primary thing. That a lot of hard work has to be put in, and how to make that hard work, structured, organized, and which will eventually pay you at some point of time, is when you have access, when you go and join these kind of institutes. So I would encourage all the young people there to at least think about it and make serious attempts, because as a youngster, when I took this exam for the first time, uh, I was not really sure what is to be done with my future. But when I started preparing, that itself was a motivation. That when I was seeing others prepare, it used to give me a lot of drive to work harder than the person next to me. And eventually, when I did join the IPS, that changed the whole perspective of my life. I think I became a very different kind of a person, and uh, changed my whole character. So it was, I was, even for last 35, 40 years, I've worked with, millions of people. I have access to the citizen, common people. I could do so much for them. So that gives a lot of satisfaction. It gives a lot of power, a lot of authority, and it's a true, I think, example of a classic leadership if you are part of these services.
So thank you so much for your time today, and I've always looked up to you. Thank you so much, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of people out there who will see this and definitely look forward to joining the service going forward.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.